The New York Islanders fell to the New Jersey Devils 6-5, but Mathew Barzal has looked extremely good this preseason, including scoring more goals. Is Barzy ready for a breakout season? We'll have that. Break down the loss to the Devils and take a look at Bo Horvat's upcoming season. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. And you can find us now on SiriusXM on the SXM app by searching Locked On Islanders. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show, but first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to talk about on a future episode, feel free to send us an email. The email address, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You could also follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We will keep you up to date on all things Islanders throughout the rest of training camp, the preseason, the regular season, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for that. It's always great to talk a little Isles hockey, Game Time, or any time. All right, lots to discuss, but we're going to lead off with a little discussion about Mathew Barzal. And I don't know if you noticed, but through the Islanders' preseason games, Barzy has looked pretty darn sharp. And he again continued to look good against the Devils. 2 goals, an assist. The offensive part of Barzal's game looked sharp. And I think the good thing about it is, he scored on a breakaway. He scored on, a one-timer. He is really starting to find his way to be a little bit more aggressive in thinking about shooting, and the chemistry between Barzal and Bo Horvat definitely seems to be there. Now, we still aren't sure who the third person on that line is going to be. I am hoping that we still do not see Anders Lee on that line, although Lee was there against the Devils. Didn't play badly, had a goal. One of his hits set up another one of Barzal's goals. So, Lee last night did show a little bit of his value on the first line, but I still think over the long haul, Bo Horvat and Anders Lee, their styles are just too similar, and they wouldn't complement each other well as line mates over the long haul. Then the question becomes, who do you plug in on that line? Do you go Oliver Wahlstrom? Do you go with Julian Gauthier temporarily? Kyle Palmieri, maybe? Hudson Fasching, Ruslan Ishkakov, William Dufour. A lot of different players who you might think would be candidates to be plugged into that spot. But to me, the aggressiveness of Mathew Barzal that we've seen so far really is a positive for this New York Islanders team. And look, let's face it, when it comes to Mathew Barzal, we are really trying to get him from the level of a really good player to an elite player, a star player. A player right now, Mathew Barzal is a guy who Islander fans know, and who, if you're, you know, a fan of a team that either faced the Islanders in the playoffs recently or plays the Islanders a lot, a division rival, even like the Devils, the Islanders, the Flyers, those guys are going to know a lot about Mathew Barzal and what he's capable of doing. But if Barzy takes his game to that next level, we're talking about, a lot more value. And look, his career high in goals remains the 22 he scored back in 2017, 2018. Since then, it's been 18, 19, 17, 15, 14. Now, keep in mind that the 19 goals came in just 68 games. That was a COVID shortened season. The 17 goals came in 55 games in another season that was shortened by COVID. And then, he missed a lot of games. He missed 9 games in 2021, 2022, only scored 15 goals, missed 24 games last year, scored 14 goals. So obviously, Barzy needs to be healthy. But I think the other aspect of it is he needs to be more aggressive and think about shooting a little bit more, because he did shoot more often the first 2 years he was in the NHL. And those numbers have sort of fallen off a little bit. But I think in the preseason so far, when he's been out on the ice with Bo Horvat, we have seen a little bit more aggressive attitude from Mathew Barzal, and that's one of the things we need to see. Look, in 2017, 2018, when Barzy won the Calder, he was playing on a team that was playing wide open hockey. And the Islanders are not going to be that team. Last night's game against the Devils notwithstanding, because both teams played kind of a wide open style, which is not what they typically play. But for Barzal to take his game to that next level, he needs to think more aggressively, not always look to pass, but not be afraid to shoot and go out there and do what he needs to do. And I think we're starting to see it. Now, again, this is the 4th preseason game. Let me get more excited if he's doing this for the first 3-4 weeks of the regular season, when the games have the regular intensity and what have you. So we'll see about that. Can he sustain it? But I think the addition of Bo Horvat on his line, and Horvat being a guy who can get in front of the net and tip pucks and deflect pucks and screen goalies. And I think the chemistry that we're seeing develop between Horvat and Barzal is one factor that is encouraging Barzy to think about shooting the puck a little bit more frequently. And that, to me, is a very, very encouraging sign. I hope we get to see more of it in the near future. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We're going to break down last night's game against the Devils, some of the good things and the bad things we saw. We're going to answer one of your emails. And, of course, we'll have our look ahead at Bo Horvat, what his role will be this season, his expectations, and a whole lot more. So all that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of tickets. And one of the features I really, really love is that on the Game Time app, you can see the view from your seat before you make the purchase, so you know exactly what to expect when you get there. And with their all-in prices, they show you the total up front, so you know you're getting a great deal without hidden fees. You can buy tickets in seconds with just a couple of taps. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL, one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So the Islanders fell to the Devils 6-5, but the young players did get a little bit of a look. It was an interesting lineup. And look, defensively, this team was nowhere. Gotta say, it was discouraging to watch the defense scramble and have trouble keeping up with the speed in the Devils game. And, the amazing thing about it, the Devils had 23 shots on goal, and the Islanders had 20. And yet this game ended up as 6-5. So clearly, while they weren't giving up a lot of shots, there were some quality shots. And while Ilya Sorokin gave up 5 goals, I don't blame him on 4 of them. Now, look, there are 1 or 2 he could have stopped, but one puck clearly went in off Grant Hutton, and Hutton certainly had his struggles defensively, as did Cal Delius. The defense just was iffy. And even Ryan Polak and Alexander Romanov, which is a great defensive tandem that, should be defense first, they were both -2 in this game, which was certainly disappointing. You know who actually was good offensively and defensively? Sebastian Aho. He had an assist, and, his goal was deflected home by Anders Lee, and Aho was a +3. So, and that led the team. A few other players were +2. The power play 0 for 2 really didn't do much, but what we did see was, again, Barzy and Bo looking solid. Pierre Engvall with a 2-point night, a goal, and an assist. That was encouraging. One thing that was a little bit disappointing to me anyway, William Dufour, he was a +2, did not figure in the scoring, did not have a shot on goal, but he also took a pair of minor penalties, 1 for slashing, 1 for cross-checking. And, the reason that that's such bad news for the Islanders is that what you do without the puck is a key to making this team. And the Islanders just did not, you didn't see a great game without the puck from William Dufour. Now, here were the line combinations. You had Horvat, Lee, and Barzal at the top. Nelson, Engvall, and Dufour on the second line. Carlson, Kuhlman, Ruslan Ishkakov, and Oliver Wahlstrom on a third line that really didn't do a lot offensively. And then Cizikas, Martin, and Gauthier on the fourth line. Defensively, Odelius and Polak, Romanov and Hutton, Aho and Mayfield is how we started this game, with Sorokin in goal, and then Appleby came in and played the third period. And yet Appleby would technically be tagged with the loss because he gave up the 6th and final goal. But, I would like to see more than 20 shots on goal. I would like to see this team be a little more consistent and play better defense. Meanwhile, let's turn our attention now to an email. This is James from upstate New York. He said, last week you mentioned on the show the Islanders were voted one of the 5 most boring teams to watch in the NHL. That was a Yahoo Sports article. And then they said if they just started winning, then I said if they just started winning more, that would probably go away. So my question is, James says, is that the case for the Hurricanes? Because in my opinion, I hate watching their games. I know they can score. I know they win. But on defense, they literally take all 5 guys and stand right in front of the net. I feel like I'm watching soccer when they set up a wall. It's nearly impossible to score. Have you ever noticed that with them? And if so, is it fun to watch? And lastly, has the NHL ever considered some kind of illegal defense to prevent that? Well, here's what I meant. And James, thank you so much for the email and the question. To me, yeah, the Hurricanes are not the most exciting team to watch. But if you're a Hurricanes fan and the team is winning a lot of hockey games like they did last year and, advanced all the way in the playoffs as far, to the conference final, they are going to love it. And I think it's the same with the Islanders. If the Islanders win 55 games this year, even if they're all or most of them are 2-1, I think Islander fans will be excited. Now, is it the most exciting brand of hockey to watch? No, it's not. And, the Hurricanes, while they have some very talented players like Sebastian Aho, they can be exciting at times, but their style of play is not glamorous or exciting, but it is effective. And I think, again, with the Islanders, to try to bring it back to the team that we all, concentrate on here and root for, I think fans would rather have them win 2-1 and 3-2 than lose 6-5 like they did last night. And the games may be more entertaining if they're 6-5, but the fans want to see some winning hockey. As far as an illegal defense, hockey is such a fast-moving game. And I think it would be very difficult because of the way the puck bounces and deflects off a skate or a stick or the boards. It would be difficult to have illegal defense be a thing in the NHL. I have never heard any rumors that the NHL was considering illegal defense becoming a factor, but certainly if I hear anything to that effect, I will let you know. So again, James from upstate New York, thank you very much for the question. And again, lockedonislanders@gmail.com. Leave your first name and where you're from, and we're happy to discuss and answer your question on the show. All right, we have got more to get to. We have our Islanders birthday of the day coming up. And I guess the clue is this is a player who joined the Islanders right after playing in the Olympics and was with the team from the mid-'80s until the mid-'90s. So let's see if you can guess who that is. And we'll also take a look at Bo Horvat and his expectations in the season to come. All that and more coming up on the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets if your first bet wins or loses. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. You could bet on the NFL, baseball playoffs, or use your knowledge of the Islanders and the NHL. Bet some futures there. Check it all out on the FanDuel app. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. So, we continue our player-by-player look at the Islanders, what to expect, what the role is, what the player needs to do to be successful. And, well, we're going to today focus on Bo Horvat every day. As you know, we've been focusing on a different player every day since training camp opened up. And I think Bo Horvat clearly is one of those players who his success or failure is going to go a long way to determining the Islanders' success or failure. And yeah, earlier in this segment, we talked about the chemistry with Mathew Barzal, and that's important. And we still don't know who the third player on that top line is going to be. And I will continue to say, at least at this point in time, that the Islanders seem to be lacking a proven NHL first line caliber player to insert on this line. Look, Horvat, his new deal kicks in this year. He's going to be an Islander for the next 8 years at $8.5 million a year. Last year, in 30 games with the Islanders, he had 7 goals and 16 points. That would put him up at about a 44-point pace over the course of the entire season. He needs to obviously pick that up. I think he's more comfortable with the system, more comfortable with his teammates, more comfortable now that his family is living on Long Island. He bought a house. He's established himself here. He knows this is home for, the next 8 years, most likely, especially given the fact that he has a no trade clause as part of his contract. And look, Bo Horvat had put together seasons in back-to-back years in Vancouver of 31 goals and then 38 goals last year combined between the Canucks and the Islanders. I think he can get between 25 and 30 with the New York Islanders. And, if he can get into the 60s in points, let's say 25 goals, 35 plus 25 plus goals, 35 plus assists, that would be the minimum we would need from Bo Horvat. You add the winning of faceoffs, which is something he's good at. He's responsible defensively. He can get the power play going. I hope he had 3 power play goals in 30 games with the Islanders last year. He had 1. He had 3 assists. Excuse me, read that wrong. But he had 1 power play goal in 30 games with the Islanders. Got to get that number up to about 8 power play goals over the course of 82 games if he could stay healthy. If he can help the power play, win the faceoffs, be responsible defensively, have chemistry with Mathew Barzal, and get you 25 plus and 60 plus, 25 goals, 60 points, I would consider that a successful season for Bo Horvat. And, if he does more than that, there's your bonus. I think, he's not a sniper in the traditional sense of the word, but he's a guy who works hard and can score. I think he's very much like Anders Lee was in his prime, where he's going to get those tips, those rebounds, those deflections. He can dig some pucks out of the corner. He can be on the bumper on the power play. And the Islanders have to figure out the best way to utilize him and get him going. I think we're going to see more from him. The early indications are that Barzal and Horvat are looking like a nice duo. And we saw some of that last night against the Devils. The key now is going to be getting him to be consistent and figuring out who that third line mate is going to be and what, getting the maximum value out of that $8.5 million a year contract over the next 8 years. Fingers crossed, because if Horvat stumbles and produces at a low rate like he did a year ago, then we're going to have a real problem for this Islanders team producing enough goals and scoring enough on the power play to truly be effective. All right, time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And today is the 60th birthday of former Islanders winger Patrick Flatley. Pat Flatley, a Toronto native, first-round pick of the Isles back in 1982, 21st overall. Played for the Canadian Olympic team in the 1984 Olympics, and then joined the Islanders down the stretch for that 84 Stanley Cup run. They made it to the final and then lost that drive for 5 to Edmonton in 5 games. And he was really productive in that playoff run as a rookie. 9 goals, 15 points in 21 games. Top 20 goals in his rookie season. Top 20 goals again in 1990-91. Was a part of the Islanders' big playoff run to the conference final in 93, where he had 2 goals and 9 points in 15 games. Stayed with the Islanders through the 95-96 season, and then in what was truly a bizarre sight, finished his career with the Rangers in 96-97. 780 career goals, 100 games, 170 goals, 510 points, 686 penalty minutes, add 18 goals and 33 points in 70 playoff games, 59 of those with the Islanders, and all the goals and assists with the Islanders as well. His best game as an Islander, well, we're going to look at one of those playoff games from 1984, this one being the 5th and deciding game of the Patrick Division Finals. Islanders hosting the Washington Capitals in this one. Al Jensen got the start for the Caps, battling Billy Smith, the goalie for the Islanders. And in this game, Pat Flatley had 2 goals and an assist. He scored the game winner, had 1 goal at even strength, 1 goal on the power play as the Islanders defeated the Capitals 5-3 to eliminate the Caps in 5 games final in that series, 4-1. The Caps won game 1, and then the Islanders won 4 in a row. So as a rookie, Pat Flatley, very dangerous. And look, off the ice, Flatley also a very popular player. He and Glenn Healy did Heels and Flats, which I always enjoyed watching as part of the Islanders pregame show on Cablevision there way back in the day. So Pat Flatley is our Islanders' birthday of the day, and we wish him a happy 60th birthday. I want to thank everybody who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Every dayers tomorrow on the show, we are going to talk about Oliver Wahlstrom and what it will take for him to have a successful season. And I think this is a do or die season for Wally. If he doesn't do well, he will probably not be an Islander beyond this season, and he may not even finish the season if he doesn't do well. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.